Hi, Whatnuts. It is Tuesday, December 10th in the United States and Canada, and this is What Chaos presented by Prize Picks. Download the Prize Picks app today and use code WhatChaos and get $50 instantly when you play $5. Prize Picks, run your game. My name is DJ Bean, and I've got Pete Blackburn to my left, and boy, does Pete Blackburn have Sean DePaz to his left. Bunch of lefties, the three of us, just some regular Arthur Millers, couple of Michelle Williamses, if you will, just a bunch of libs, the three of us. How are you, boys?
The Mark Ruffalo Sabres.
Oh, yeah, but you won't talk about you'll talk about Mark Ruffalo?
I'll talk about Mark Ruffalo.
You won't talk about the Buffalo Sabres.
That's right.
You're still conscientiously objecting to.
That's right.
Conscientious objecting, so you can't have object and then like a nice, thoughtful word in front of it.
Conscientious?
Yeah.
I'm
thinking about it when I say...
That's the exact purpose of being a conscientious objector. You're saying, no, thank you.
I'm too good for this shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it sounds more like I'm too good for this shit.
Yeah,
but
I've thought about it. No, thank you. I'm too good for this.
I do not look... I don't have a problem with someone who has enough self-respect to think that they're too good for the Buffalo Sabres.
I think that it should maybe be conscientious abstainer. So I'm like, abstaining sounds nicer.
It depends. Are you abstaining or are you objecting?
Right.
Like conscientious objectors during the Civil War or during the Vietnam War didn't.
That was a statement.
They weren't abstaining from it. They did not care. They were actively against it. And
right.
I feel like Pete is on a.
Yeah, I'm not a conscientious rejecter or objector. I think I would say I'm more of an abstainer. Okay. I want to abstain from the Buffalo Sabres conversation because we've just had it too many times. I don't want to keep having it again.
Oh, okay. So I think we're on the same page in that yours is not as... You're not trying to make a big political statement when you say, we're not doing this until anything changes with this team, right?
No, it's just exhaustion. Why do we keep wasting our breaths on the same thing if they're just going to keep doing the same shit over and over again?
Well, now this sounds like what Sean's got, which is a little conscientious disgust.
Yes. I'm thinking about it, and I am disgusted. I also feel the need to say this before we get too far. It's my mom's birthday today.
Hey, happy birthday, Sean's mom and Sean.
Yes, we were born on the same day.
Does your mother know that she's got a birthday awfully close to Matvei Michkov's birthday? Because famously yesterday was Matvei Michkov's 20th birthday.
It was, yeah. I think she does. She knows. She was born a few years before Matvei Michkov, but knew.
She's a puck knower.
She is.
Yeah, you're not supposed to comment on a woman's age, Sean.
My mom is older than 20 years old. I can confirm.
Well,
hope she doesn't listen to this.
You want to spill family secrets? That's your business. We try to keep... I was going to say we try to keep things private on this show, but that's not true. We just volunteer all sorts of personal... unlisted information about each other. Pete, why don't you list what is on today's admittedly slightly pre-recorded show? We are recording this because we are on assignment right now. So Pete, why don't you tell them what we have for them today?
I'm glad you pointed that out because I don't wear the same outfit 2 days in a row.
You wore that dress yesterday.
That's right. Today on What Chaos, we have Lucas Raymond joins the show. We talked to him in Detroit a little while ago. And he's awesome. That interview is going to be a whole lot of fun. We explain the plot of Everybody Loves Raymond to him. It's awesome.
It's pretty much all that happens on that interview.
Exactly. We have Kings things on because we are talking to Petey. And we're going to talk to Petey about the Los Angeles Kings. We're on a bit of a heater.
Very hot.
That's right. We'll talk to Petey about a lot of different things, a lot of different teams. Some good, some not so good. And then we have a slate grade because we are coming off of one of the worst slates of the year. And since this is pre-recorded, that could be a good thing or a bad thing. Like last night could have gone any which way.
I like that when we do pre-recorded shows, we'll have topics and we'll have things ready. In this, the case of today's show, it's mostly we have stuff on tape that we are going to give to you. But when there aren't a million things you can list, I like making the fourth one either Slate grade, which is in every episode and should not be a specific reason to come to this episode. Actually, that's not true. The other option is to just go super vague. Like last week, for some reason, we didn't have a lot of things to list, and we just put breaking it down.
Yes. I love that.
So we're going to do all those things and break it down.
Slate grade today should be interesting, though, because since last night's slate was so bad, this slate has to make up for it, has to redeem itself.
Sean, you're kind of chipper, despite the fact that we talked about the Buffalo Sabres for like 2 seconds. For this being a taped episode, you seem happy to be here and not mad. There's been no threats yet.
Not yet. You haven't given me a reason to. I don't think you haven't really brought up the Buffalo Sabres, so I have no reason to shut this shit down quite yet.
Okay, well,
still plenty of show though.
While you're not shutting shit down, let's talk to Petey. Let's bring in Steve Peters, senior hockey analyst and genius for the All-City Network, longtime Coyotes video coach, and longtime friend of Sean's. We haven't known you long enough for you to be a longtime friend of us, but you've been a friend of ours for over a year now.
That is fair. Genius and staying as the video coach for Arizona for 20 years. I'm not sure those two things meld together well. I'm not sure that it would be a genius move, but I did do that.
He did that. All right. Lovely. We kind of, you want errands, not errands, but you're like, ask me something to find out and I can find it out. So I asked you, are the Kings for real? Because they have won 5 straight games. They beat the Jets, the Ducks, the Senators, the Stars, and the Wild. Those aren't slow. Like the Senators and the Ducks, maybe not the best teams in the world, but you beat the Stars, you beat the Wild, you beat the Jets, who are kind of fraud-ass pumpkins right now. But are they for real?
And, this is hard when you're a team that plays so late at night. I know that the East Coast bias and all those things in sports, but it is true. I mean, the LA Kings are playing so late at night. People aren't watching them play. It's a really good hockey team. And the driving force are the same things that drove them to Stanley Cup, and it's Anze Kopitar. He's leading by example. That room is incredibly close. Guys are playing for each other. They don't have the proverbial bad apples in the room anymore. This team is for real. However, I think where they're at right now in the Pacific Division, I knew Calgary was going to slide in the Pacific. I thought that they started off too hot. I think LA it still has to come back down to earth a little bit. I think there are teams chasing them, including the Edmonton Oilers and the Vancouver Canucks that I think are better. But I still think this LA Kings is definitely a playoff team, and it all starts from the way they defend.
It seems like that's a very streaky team where like they get in these like really cold stretches and then they get really hot. I will say, last time out, they walked into the arena, the Crypto.com arena, and it was a Squid Game promo. They had Squid Game players lined up and down the halls. That's a great way to convince your players to play as well as they can, because in Squid Game, if you don't play the game well, you die.
And if you don't finish, like in a lot of cases, or I guess at the end, spoilers, if you don't like finish strong, you die.
Yes.
And sometimes if you don't just straight up win, you die.
So in terms of threatening teams, Kings threatening their players, Rangers threatening their players. It's been a big week for both those teams.
Yeah, I think it's working. And I think that, you do talk about LA being streaky. That's offensively. Defensively, they've given up the fewest shots of any team in the National Hockey League this season. They defend well. And without Drew Doughty, I thought that was going to be a huge problem for this team. They're giving up. They're 4th in the league in goals against. They defend well. The goals are streaky. I know Kevin Fiala is a guy I really liked when he was in Minnesota. I thought he's been helping their offense. LA Kings are good, and they're going to surprise teams because they play the right way. They defend first, and they look for their offense later. Don't sleep on them. This is well, I guess you can if you're in U.S. time zone. But other than that, this team is going to be good. I like the LA Kings. They're a playoff team for sure in the Western Conference.
Alex Laferriere appears to be a guy's guy. In what? I just did this. In 27 games, he's matched his goal total from last season, 12 goals. He did that in 81 games last year. He's already at 12 goals right now. Right now, they've got him third line, but they've also got Kevin Fiala on their third line right now. So I think they're trying to just kind of spread the wealth around, but they've got a young stud here. Yes?
This kid gets to the net. He's highly, highly skilled, and that's part of this quickness. I mean, you talk about a team that's aging, but they got the speed there too, and this kid can play. Alex Lafreniere is a highly offensive guy. He's having a lot of fun in LA, and he looks like he is. He gets to the net hard, and you paired him with Fiala. Like I said, the offense at that kid, I mean, he's in late 20s now. So they are legit, and that's why I think they've got some things that other teams don't have, is they've got that mix of the veteran guys. Adrian Kempe is now a veteran, late 20s. He's still putting up a point a game. Kopitar, clearly, late 30s, and he's still be able to perform like he is. But you throw in these 22, 23-year-olds like Lafreniere, and it makes a huge difference. And so many teams in this league have one or the other. They don't have both. They don't have the veteran presence that can pull you through and the young skilled guys with speed that can pull you into the next level. And that's why I think this team is running a little special. And their backup goaltender, David Riddick, has been absolutely lights out. Kemper has been playing Darcy Kemper hockey. It's good enough, and I love Darcy Kemper, great guy, but he's playing the same goal that he played in Colorado, and basically the same he was in Washington. It's good enough, but Riddick has been the real story, giving up under 2 in his last 8 of his last 11.
But on Kemper, that has worked out. The Pierre-Luc Dubois trade has worked out so well in that, yes, they got rid of the contract, but the reason, Pete, you loved the Kings so much last season was going into the year, you were like, damn, they're just so strong down the middle, and they're so deep down the middle. You look now, they've still got Phil Deneau centering their third line, and it's because they've been able to move Quentin Byfield to center full-time this season, and that's worked out. So they still do end up having the center depth that they'd kind of dreamed of having for a while, and a lot of that is on Byfield taking the next step. So even if the return they got for PLD hasn't been amazing, similar to what we talked about with the Trouba thing, the return is go away forever.
I also I think Warren Fogle, an underrated ad. Yeah. I really like Warren Fogle a lot as a player. And then talking about the young guys too, Mark on the blue line, fucking rules. I really like that guy. What have you seen from his game?
But that's what you just said. You talked about Fogle and what he not only what he brings to LA, but what did they lose in Edmonton by losing Warren Fogle? It's those pieces in the bottom 6 that I really think that have caused the Edmonton Oilers to stumble a little bit out of the gate. But Brandt Clarke, again, it's this defense. Brandt Clarke can skate, he can get the puck up the ice, but more importantly, he's paired with Edmondson, and Edmondson can be a challenge at times speed-wise, so he's got to carry the load partnered with Edmondson, but he can defend well. He's one of the more fun young defensemen in this league to watch, and if you haven't seen Brandt Clarke play, make sure you do, because he moves the puck incredibly well, and the kid can skate. So I do think without the absence of Drew Doughty, maybe some of these kids, have been able to take the next step and be able to get that confidence to go, okay, well, there's nobody else to do it, so maybe I should do it. So you're right, Pete. I didn't know you had these guys out of the gate. This is a really good hockey team.
Just want to circle back on something that you said in your first answer. You said they are definitely a playoff team. You do not see them letting go of the rope to the extent where they fall out of the playoff picture.
I don't, and it's because of how well they defend. Yeah, I've always been a big believer in you defend first, and if you can stop the opponents from scoring, I mean, they're plus 12 and plus minus goal differential right now, and I think that's good enough in the Western Conference. There are only a few teams that are out of the playoff picture in the West right now that I think can sneak in. Anyway, with Edmonton now in on that last wild card spot, I still think Calgary's going to continue to fall. And the one I keep saying, look out for, is the St. Louis Blues. And I know they got to jump over a few teams, but I still think the only team that's out that could still get back in is St. Louis.
You think St. Louis jumps Utah Hockey Club because they're not too bad right now themselves?
I do. And the one thing with Utah, and I get to see them a lot, that talked about a streaky team. That's a streaky team. And they're very streaky offensively. Shut out 5 times in 19, but then now they've put up 5 or 6 in 4 of their last 6. So either it's a gold rush or they're struggling for offense. I think they'll come back down to earth in this tough schedule they've got coming up. But I do think that they're a very good team and they're close to the playoffs. They're just not quite there yet for this Utah Hockey Club. They're healthy. Yeah, maybe.
When you look at the Western Conference, does anybody stand out above the rest? Because in the first month and change of the season, The only answer was the Winnipeg Jets, just based off of their results and how well they were playing. They've come back down to earth. DJ mentioned Fraud-Ass Pumpkin Watch. Any team in the West right now stand above the rest?
Yeah, I with DJ feels about the Jets like I feel about the Minnesota Wild. I keep saying the same thing about them. That was a team that I had borderline playoff team. Matter of fact, I had them out of the playoffs.
I thought you loved the Wild.
You have them on Fraud-Ass Pumpkin Watch?
I did. No. I did. I keep waiting for them to fall off. It's this goaltender right now has been unbelievable. And Kaprizov is having an absolute dynamite year. And all of the little pieces for that team have fallen into place. Boldy's playing unreal. Marco Rossi, Brock Faber's a stud. So this is a team I keep going, oh, they're going to fall out. They're going to fall off. They're going to fall off. And then they just get better. And I thought they'd slide and they're not. But having said that, I don't think they're the shoe-in to walk through the Western Conference. There isn't that team right now. Vegas Golden Knights have been good, very good. And I think that's a really good hockey team. The team you keep waiting for is the Colorado Avalanche. But we've said that for years since they won the Cup. It's when are they going to come back? And it's injuries or a guy suspended or it's one thing or another. No, it's one thing. Their goalies stink. They can't get a goaltender to play well enough. Now Wedgwood gets a shutout. Is Scott Wedgwood the guy to take this team back to the promised land? Again, another guy I really liked, but he's not a 1A. And I think he'll win his games, and I think he's going to be good for Colorado. But Colorado, to be the team that I think should be the team dominating in the Western Conference, they've got to defend better because their goaltending hasn't been good enough.
So I've actually been kind of hammering just as like a personal little project and as biased because I pull for a team in the Western Conference, but I've been watching some of the expected heavy hitters to be like, who actually is going to end up being the team in the end? Is there anyone that we're not talking about enough as hey, watch out for this team? And my answer has been, this is a kind of big declaration for me.
Yeah.
It's the Edmonton Oilers. And I'm not saying that, but I'm watching these teams.
Who could have guessed?
I know a big part of it, you know who's been awesome? Extremely underreported in these circles because you would think this would be a big story for us. But as Sean noted recently, this just hasn't been a super Oilers-y season. Maybe it's because they haven't been dramatic enough. But you know who is having a very good season? And I'm really not kidding. Darnell Nurse. Darnell Nurse has recaptured it. He's back to, right now, I would call Darnell Nurse overpaid. And that's it. Wow. He's right now, Darnell Nurse is that guy should be making 6.5. Why is he making 9 or whatever?
It's always a good sign when you start off a conversation with, who's having a great season and is still overpaid?
Yes, well, he's always going to be overpaid. But right now, Darnell Nurse is no question awesome second pairing defenseman. So you'll take that. And there's just moments. They're getting hot. Zach Hyman has returned from injury, and he looks like what he was doing before. He's just scoring 1 million goals. So the weird start to the season for him, that seems over. Darnell Nurse, as I said, has been good. Good moments from Adam Henrique, and Jeff Skinner has been, the numbers haven't been there, but he's been kind of sniffing it and having chances. He finally made some good plays the other day. So I do think in the end, it's going to be like Vegas. It's going to be, I guess we still wait on Dallas to see what they end up doing on the blue line. But I think that in the end, the Oilers, knock on wood, have too many guys. And I think that it actually will be the Oilers again.
Yeah, you might be right. But Dallas is, again, it's another team that I really like. The Sagan injury is hurting them more than I thought it would. There's no question about it. And Ottinger he's been streaky as well. I thought that was going to be the team to beat coming out of the Western Conference. I thought they're going to be very good. And I thought Edmonton might take a step back. But you talked about Foegele. Those are the pieces that I thought Edmonton would miss. You talk about the signings in St. Louis that they get guys stolen away from them. And I think that really hurt them as well. But you mentioned Jeff Skinner. It's this bottom 6. If the Oilers are going to win, it's the bottom 6 that's going to help push them there. Perry's been more effective than I thought he would be this season, and so is Jeff Skinner. The goaltender Skinner has been, he is who he is. And when he's good, he's very, very good. And if he can continue to be consistent, he can help this team. This team can still win the Pacific Division. Even though they were started off poor again, they still can climb up to win this division. They still have the best player in hockey. They still have the best power play goal scorer from the goal line in the league. And if Hyman can wake up, like you said he has, around the front of the net, this team is going to be able to outscore teams. When the dust settles, I still think it's going to be Vegas, Edmonton, and Dallas. Winnipeg, they might go on and win the President's Trophy. there's just something about Winnipeg when they get to that place. I'm just not confident enough in them right now. Those other three teams are teams that have been there and have done well recently. And I think that means something when you get to game 83 through 100. It's important that you've been there. And I think that might hurt Winnipeg in the long term.
Yeah, when I look at the Western Conference, like when the dust settles, I think it's going to maybe come down to matchups when I look at the playoff bracket, because there are so many teams that I think are good. Like we haven't even mentioned the Vancouver Canucks. Like when the Vancouver Canucks are fully healthy and they get Demko back and they get Hronek back, they get JT Miller if that situation settles itself, and like they have a fully like optimized and healthy lineup. It's a really good team. So I think that I'm going to reserve like crowning anybody until I see the playoff matchups. Like to this point, like Vegas has been awesome and they're going to be awesome. But again, I think it could come down to matchups. Eastern Conference, not so much.
Yeah, we can't talk about the Eastern Conference or hot teams without discussing the Boston Bruins, because since firing Jim Montgomery, they have really turned it around. In 20 games with Jim Montgomery, they were 31st in goals per game, 27th in goals against per game, 32nd in power play, 25th in penalty kill. Everything was terrible. In 9 games under Joe Sacco, in which they are 7-2-0, they are 14th in goals per game. They've gone from 2.4 goals per game to 3 goals per game. The massive jump is in goals against per game, where they've gone from 3.45 goals against per game to 2 goals against per game, which is second in the league. Still terrible power play, 12.9%, 29th in the league, and the second penalty kill in the list. So really, the answer to the question I'm kind of going to ask is a lot of it is defense, but what has changed for the Bruins under Joe Sacco, where they've gone from kind of dead in the water to suddenly everything's okay again?
Okay, here's the good news, bad news. The good news is you're right. Those numbers are all correct, and they've really had improvements in all of these areas. And for me, the most has been their ability to defend. And I think that they got away from their defensive zone structure. They're great sticks. They're protecting the house. Not only did you talked about the goals against going down, but now their shots against per game went from 29 to 24. That's 5 or 6 shots a game. That's significant, and you're not giving up those opportunities. But what it has done, not just defending, it's a different atmosphere. And I think it's most notable when you look to the player, when you look to Brad Marchand, who struggled out of the gates, had a tough start. You saw the public displays of confrontation, or as some might say, assault on the bench between he and Jim Montgomery, and you knew there was some friction there. And when you have friction with your leaders, it's difficult to win. Brad Marchand now has got 6 goals, 2 assists, 8 points in those 9 games, and is a different player. I know his role has changed on the power play. Now he's playing more net front goal line versus the flank. So it's physically a change. He's moved where he's playing, but I think he's playing free. And I think he's playing with less stress and less pressure that I'm the guy and I've got to pull this team out of it. I think he's just out there having fun. I'm waiting for that same thing to happen to Pastrnak. Pasternak's got the points. He's got 10 points in those 9 games, but he hasn't really let loose in the goal area, and I think he will. I really think he's going to continue, and I think he's going to finally start hitting the net. You watch him in the the games over the weekend. He's getting the power play opportunities, but he's clutching the stick so tight that he's just not getting the shots off the way he wants. So he's holding it too long instead of that great one-timer that we know from David Pastrnak. So I still think the atmosphere in that room has been lightened, and it surprised me because I thought Montgomery was well liked in the room, but you can see this freedom of they have this. They're just happier. And that goes a long way for a team that has some really good players. The concern.
I also think, like, when you talk about the case of David Pastrnak, he's a good example of like what they weren't getting to start the season, which was like, if you're not contributing on the score sheet, at least have the details be good and don't be a net negative. Like Pastrnak is still winning battles. He's still making plays. He's still setting up guys, even if he's not explosive in terms of the goal scoring. I want to ask, like, where do you think the Bruins land in terms of their ceiling? Because we mentioned it when they fired Jim Montgomery. The schedule coming up is dog shit. Like, they've played bad team after bad team after bad team. So you got to recognize that under Sacco, they've been a lot better, but they also haven't played anybody great. So, like, where do you land on the Bruins in terms of their ceiling and what they can be?
Yeah, I don't think they're good enough. I don't know if they're good enough offensively. I think Swayman not starting the season hurt them, but the Swayman-Allmark marriage, as it were, that's a big problem for this team. I think that relationship helped build trust within the team that anybody that was playing was going to help them succeed. But you're right. You played Detroit twice, Chicago once, and Montreal once over those 9 games. If you continue to play the worst teams in the league over and over again, you'll have a good record. That's a little bit smoke and mirrors for this Boston Bruins team. I do think there are some teams below them that are going to cause them some fits. I still think Tampa Bay is a good hockey team. The New York Rangers, if they figure it out, and I know stirring the pot and getting some money available may have helped this team, I don't think it's short term. I think this team is going to be a mess for weeks to come, and they may even fall deeper. And you go below and you keep looking for, okay, who's that team that's going to catch the Boston Bruins then? I don't think the Islanders are good enough, and I don't think the Flyers or the Penguins are good enough. And those are the next 3 teams up. So I do think they're going to be a playoff team. It's just where and how far they can go. You talk about matchups, they're going to have a tough matchup right out of the gate, just like they have had every year over the last 3 seasons. And if they can somehow find their way into the top 3, the best they're going to get is they're going to get Toronto or Florida. And that's going to be a tough matchup for Boston. I don't think this team is ready to really make a long run through the playoffs. I do think they will make the playoffs, though.
Have you seen enough from Sacco to have a stance on like whether he's their guy?
I think he is their guy, and I think that's once ownership and management can come together, and I think that's what happened in this relationship, that they've been eyeing Sacco even in the summertime. And once you start doing that, I think the anticipation is he's the guy. Like, he's the guy for now, and I think he's the guy for the very, if he's for the future. I think Sacco is a good fit, local guy, and by all accounts, people like him. And in today's NHL, the players have to like you, and you didn't have to have that. You didn't have to have that relationship that, hey, we're all buddies, but you do now. If you don't have an element of that trust and that relationships, you can't win. And I think Boston has that with Sacco. So I do think it's been a good fit to start, and I do think this is something that's going to last not just through the rest of this year, but into next year.
Pete mentioned the schedule. I think that we're going to start to get answers on a lot of this stuff really soon, because now is where it turns. Tonight in Winnipeg, then at Seattle. It's just a West Coast trip. It's going to be really tough. At Winnipeg, at Seattle, at Vancouver, at Calgary, at Edmonton. So basically you're going through the one good team in the Central, a meh team in the Central, and then you got like the dogs of the Pacific Division. So this, if you're a team that you're feeling a spark from all this, maybe this is a good time to get on the road and say, okay, we'll really prove it now. But kind of to Pete's point, the other way to look at it is you followed a really easy stretch with, this isn't overtime games with the Philadelphia Flyers anymore. This is going to be really difficult. And they have gone to overtime with 2 bad teams, because the other one was the Red Wings.
But this is the same thing that you said about LA. LA's just on a 15-day, 7-game road trip. Their longest of the season starts today in Long Island. So I think these 2 teams are very similar. That are they going to be able to sustain what they've done lately in very difficult schedules? And even look at Seattle. Like Seattle, that's not easy. That's not an easy game. But you get to that gauntlet of that Western Canadian trip. That is hard. Those are 3 hard games. The weather's going to be brutal. It's going to be dark. And if you've had any struggles through the first 2 games, you're looking at this going, uh-oh, this could be a problem. So, and conversely, LA's on their East Coast trip. So they're out east trying to go through the gauntlet of the Rangers, the Islanders, the Devils. They have to go through that mess. So both of these teams come 10 days from now, you're going to go, okay, this is who they are, and they're going to be okay. Or my gosh, they were just having some success against bad teams at home. So I think that you'll have a really good picture of both of these teams within the next 2 weeks.
I put Seattle in the wrong division there, but nobody cares. Nobody noticed it. Petey, we love talking to you. You are the absolute greatest. We're going to talk to you next week at some point. Yeah, that sound good?
Yeah, I can't wait, guys. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Petey Land is the best place to talk sports, and Prize Picks is the best place to get real money on sports action. It's something that I've really been thinking about as I've thought more and more about Petey and this fictional Petey Land that I've made up. Petey Land, I imagine, is just like the shot that we see of him, but there's a million screens going on. I think that Petey still just always reviews things.
I would love to do generative fill on Petey's set,
yes,
and see what else it comes up with, because it's a great looking set, but it's a very busy set. There's a lot happening behind him, so I would love to see what Photoshop thinks is happening beyond the frame.
Well, with over 10 million members and billions of dollars in awarded winnings, Prize Picks has made daily fantasy sports accessible to all. That's right, Prize Picks is for everyone. You just pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 100 times your cash. Run your game all season long on Prize Picks. I'll tell you what, it's the only real money daily fantasy platform with injury insurance policy, so your lineups stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. I experienced this recently over the weekend. Don't want to talk about it, but Sam Hauser, stay healthy for me during a game. I'm trying to DFS.
It is important to point out, today's Tuesday, Taco Tuesday on.
Yeah. Oh, well, if your player leaves in the first half and doesn't return, Prize Picks keeps your lineup live.
Not to push back against a feature of Prize Picks, but I don't like the insurance.
A lot of people don't like that.
I don't like
because it's but this is DFSing.
That's true.
It's not.
It is in the spirit of DFSing.
Yes, it's in the spirit of DFSing. It's not in the spirit of gambling, which
this is not.
The only way I will say gambling during a Prize Picks ad read is to say
it's not.
This is not that.
This is not that. So you take whatever culture you have in your other activities, you be safe and make sure everything's okay. But with Prize Picks, they got their own culture. And you know what it involves? Drewski.
Joe Budden.
Andrew Schultz still on there?
I don't think. Hashtag not my culture.
Okay. All right.
If you catch my drift. Prize Picks offers weekly promotions that lead to big payouts, like Taco Tuesday, as Sean said.
Hey-o.
Each Tuesday, Prize Picks discounts select player projections up to 25% to provide even more value for your lineups. And if you think Justin Jefferson will have, say, more than 83.5 yards next week, or, I don't know, DeAndre Swift will do something crazy, cook up your takes with your friends and win real money this football season when you and your crew run your game on Prize Picks. So download the app today, use code WhatChaos, get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code WhatChaos to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, run your game.
Real quick, I did see that they just introduced the ability to 1000x. So you can really get real money on Prize Picks.
That's not real money. That's generational.
That
wealth.
seems like generational wealth. Yeah, seems
That's
like
right.
life-changing DFSing.
That's right. You know what's coming right now. This is a Bauer read because Bauer sponsors basically every podcast, and we love them for it. We love Bauer hockey for many reasons, not the least of which is the Bauer Pro Sharp Advantage Skate Sharpener, because it is perfect for all hockey players, families, or teams. The sharpener is fully automated and it's extremely easy to use, so you can get perfect edges anytime, anywhere, as long as you're plugged into power. And it even has goalie skate mode, so your tendy doesn't feel left out with the sharp edges. So to learn more about the Pro Sharp Bauer Advantage Skate Sharpener, or to see where you can find it in stores, head to bauer.com/ProSharp.
Here is our conversation with Red Wings wing Lucas Raymond. We were discussing this earlier because we were talking about your game against the Canadiens last year when you scored the game-tying goal, you scored the game-winning goal, kept the season alive. What is a better feeling, scoring a game-tying goal or a game-winning goal? I think that people would assume that's stupid. It's going to be game-winning goal. But judging from how I have seen you celebrate different types of goals, I don't know the answer. What is it?
I'd still say probably a game-winning goal. Those game-tying goals, like you pull your goalie, that's a nice feeling, obviously. But a game-winning goal will probably be the best one for sure.
Yeah, I mean the game-tying aspect is like more desperation at stake, and also like it's a gift to the boys. You get to play more hockey.
Yeah. I think also it's different types. Like you can have a game-winning goal in the second period, right?
True.
It doesn't have to be an overtime goal. So then maybe a game-tying goal late, but an overtime goal or like a late game-winning goal is for sure a good feeling.
Where did that game against the Canadiens rank against like best games you've ever played in your life? Because it's one of the best games I've ever watched in my life. It was insane.
Yeah, it was a crazy game. I'd say it's for sure up there. Just that last stretch last year, the last 10 games or so I thought was really fun. just like the way the city came alive around us, and the arena it was a lot of fun. So it's for sure up there. It was I think it was a great experience as well. Like looking back at it, obviously in the moment you were gutted, but just looking back at it, I think we took a lot from that stretch.
Do you feel like you have like a little bit of a taste of what playoff hockey is like based off of that stretch and kind of the atmosphere around the team?
I mean, I would want to say so, but I don't know, right? Like I've never been in the playoffs, so I don't really can't compare it. But the intensity was for sure up. The urgency around it. You always try to keep that intensity level, urgency level throughout an entire season, but 382 games, it could be tough. But those last games was for sure a lot of fun, and like I said, just the building, the fans, it was special for sure.
That game was one of the indications that we were going to be all in on you, that we were Lucas Raymond guys. First, off the bat, everybody loves Raymond guys. And I know that you've gotten that so many times and you probably hate it, but I was like, there's a hockey jersey that says Raymond on the back. Hell yeah, I'm in. I like that guy. I'm getting that. The other thing, though, that made us very all in on you was the drama that surrounded the Will Cooley stick incident.
Oh,
I'm sure that absolutely sucked for you.
Yeah.
And we've talked about it enough on the podcast that we don't need to explain it. But to be sitting there with a face full of blood as basically you're on public trial, what was that review like for you?
Which one?
So you lifted allegedly you lifted the stick, and it may have got you. Your hand may have been in the... Anyway.
Yeah. I know which one, yeah.
You were... allegedly. Anyway. But during that review where they're figuring out, are they going to take away overturn the high stick, which we didn't think you could actually do.
Yeah.
But you still were bleeding.
Yeah.
Like no matter what they called, you still... Like, that must have sucked. So when you don't even end up getting a power play out of that, what was that like?
I mean, it was weird. Like... obviously, you never want to take a stick and throw it in your face. Like, it's not a very nice feeling. So I was like, I didn't really know what they were looking at. Then the call came, and it was what it was. I looked at it, and it looked a little bit, but like in my mind, it was like I was trying to push the stick away. It came up in my face. I couldn't really do a lot about it. So. It was what it was. Like you move on, and it was a special situation for sure.
Did that happen so fast? Did you know in the moment that you did that, or
no? I mean, I was just, like skating up the ice, holding away a stick, and it came up in my face. Like I said, I don't think anyone wants a stick in their face. So.
We're a big embellishment podcast. We love...
we're trying to encourage embellishment.
Yeah,
every interview that they get mad at us.
Right. And it's like, if you're going to embellish, like commit to the embellishment. And so I was a big fan of like thinking that you did it intentionally. And it was like, well, at least if he's embellishing, that he's putting himself in the line of fire here. So I was a big fan, and now I'm kind of disappointed that you didn't do it on purpose.
No, that was not on purpose. It would have been pretty creative though, but not on purpose.
I'll tell you, if you did it on purpose, nobody would ever want to fight you.
No.
They'd be like, that guy is fucking out of his mind. Did you see him that previous shift? Took a guy's stick and hit himself in the face with it.
Yeah, that would have been a psycho play, but...
That would have been insane. Now, on the Everybody Loves Raymond thing, I understand that you get that all the time, and that you still, to this point, have not seen that show?
No.
Why?
Don't really know what the show's about, to be honest with you. Like, I've seen the name of it, but I don't even know where to find it.
You came to the right place.
Yeah.
All right, so it's a CBS sitcom that ran from 1996 to 2005, starring Ray Romano. It's also got Brad Garrett, Doris Roberts, Patricia Heaton, a lot of the greats.
Yeah.
And it's basically about a sports writer who doesn't have sex with his wife, and he has twin children who he neglects, and he always wants to go golfing, and his parents live across the street, and they come over all the time, and his brother comes over, and they're always like, hey, Robert, how are you doing?
Yeah.
And he's like, not so great. And everyone laughs because they didn't understand what depression was when this show was on. If this were on now, people would be like, can we get Robert some help? He doesn't seem to be doing so well, but he was the butt of every joke because he was a depressed guy. You got to check it out.
And everyone loves that guy.
And, everyone loves Raymond.
Except his wife.
Yeah, I was just about to say.
Yeah, except his wife. Doesn't want to have sex with him.
Yeah, like whenever they need to get out of a scene or like go to commercial, they need some sort of like button to press, a punchline. It will be like, well, you know what we haven't done in a while. Don't even think about it, Raymond. Laugh track commercial. Everyone loves that guy. In all seriousness, I would check it out.
Yeah.
It's very, very funny.
I might have to see a snippet of it.
What shows do you watch?
I actually just started watching White Collar. Have you guys seen that?
No.
That's the lawyer show, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's like the FBI. It's a guy who was in jail, like a robber.
Oh,
like
okay.
a con man. It's an older show. It's really good. You guys should check it out.
I was thinking of Suits.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. The Suits have white collars sometimes.
There's clothes. Anything. Devil Wears Prada. It's all the same. I assume I know the answer to this, but I don't want to generalize. Do you fika?
Of course.
We're big fika guys. We're not. We don't. We're not invited to fika. No. But Omar told us about it. Yeah. What's that?
We have been.
Actually, yeah. Sometimes on the road we'll be like,
Omar
drink
invited
coffee
us to fika.
Yeah.
Lightly, like maybe just very.
I wouldn't want to
politely.
start. I'll tell you what. I wouldn't want to pop my proverbial cherry there to like Omar for fika wise because he's like a veteran of that game.
Yeah.
What's your typical fika experience?
I'd embarrass myself.
It's very chill. It's usually just a coffee and a cinnamon bun, maybe.
Okay, yeah,
and then just good
seems
vibes.
the same.
Does it have to be cinnamon bun? Because
No.
Omar also mentioned cinnamon.
It could be. I mean, that's very common. Like, what do you say? A very common pastry, I guess, in Sweden. Cinnamon bun, but it could be anything. A little chocolate ball. A little. I don't know. Anything.
Do you fika with teammates?
Yeah, I tried to.
Do you?
I tried to, yeah. Me and Mo used to be big fika guys. But, most guys have kids. They got, girlfriends, stuff like that.
No time to fika.
No time to fika.
I'm a grown man. I don't have time for fika. The funny thing about all this, though, I'm realizing as you say this, it shows how gluttonous Americans are because it sounds like there's nothing special about the idea of having coffee and a cinnamon bun.
Yeah.
I've done that 3 times today already.
Yeah, it's unreal.
But for maybe people of other countries, they're like, there's an understanding that you're not supposed to maybe hammer cinnamon buns all the time.
No.
It's a special treat.
Are there rules to it too? Like, is it like if you're fikaing, like no phones, no screens, nothing, or is
no? I mean, honestly, it's just a very simple. Like, you don't even have to have it. You could just have a coffee and hang out.
Okay.
We went to Sweden last year and played. I tried to get the boys for fika, and they were like really excited that we walk into this one coffee shop and. Like in Sweden, you don't really like. That's not like you fika, but you don't talk about like you'll just be like, hey, want to go for a coffee?
Yeah.
So we show up to this like bakery, whatever, and girls at the counter. I was with Larix, Mo, Kat. Girls at the counter. It's like, oh, what do you want? And Larix is like, I want a fika. And she looks at him like, yeah, like he was so excited. He's like, I want a fika, and she's like, well, yeah. And I was like, dude. It's like saying, I want lunch, going to like a lunch spot. And they're like, yeah, well, what do you want? So they're like, oh, coffee and cinnamon bun. So
that's unbelievable.
And that is why I would not want to do my first fika with Omar, because you would be able to tell that I was a noob and didn't know what I was doing.
It still seems cool, and I still want a fika, even if it's... I feel like you're underselling it, but it seems cool. It's a very cool name for a thing.
Yeah, but I mean, I feel like people have fikas all the time. Maybe just don't realize it. Like if you go have a coffee with a friend, like it's fika.
Yeah, it's just not branded as it.
But it's like same thing.
I feel like it is kind of having a moment though, because I was telling one of my friends about like, oh, in Sweden I learned they do this, and they were like, yeah, that's like all over TikTok or whatever, and people are now like branding it a thing. Yeah. Are you protective at all of fikaing, or do you want it to spread to the whole world?
No, I just spread it around. I think it's good vibes. A little break in the everyday life. Get to sit down, calm down a little bit. Just chill.
I feel like the day that you signed your contract was like a party through like across NHL fandom. Everyone was so pumped that. You not only signed and would be ready for the season, but that you got an 8-year deal and that you're such a big part of this whole thing. what's it like? Like, what was it like leading up to that? And I guess, like trying to get to that 8-year term. And now what's it like as a very young person knowing what the next 8 years of your life will be?
Yeah, I mean, it's special. This entire summer was very different than my previous ones. Obviously, with contract negotiations, I've never really been through that before. All my deals have been rookie contracts when I was playing in Sweden, then coming over here. So it was a bit different, and you know, a little bit stressful, obviously, and especially coming close to camp. Huge thing for me coming into it was term. I wanted long term, and I also, you know, wanted it to get done for camp. And we got both of those things done. So after that, I was just very relieved. You know, I was just excited. I wanted to jump on a plane right away. And yeah, it was nice to come over, see the boys again.
Were you in Sweden at the time?
Yeah, I was in Sweden. So it was a quick turnaround. I had like a day in between, jumped on a plane, drove 4 hours up to Traverse where we have our training camp, showed up, and then just got ready to go next day.
Do you have to do, like, does your agent advise, like, don't be in Michigan? It's a sign of weakness.
I don't know about that. I mean, obviously there's probably some tactic behind it. I wasn't very involved in any of that. You know, I was just that was my whole thing. I was like, just keep me out of it. Like, let me know if you guys hear anything useful, and then I'll just try to keep doing my thing, trying to get ready for the season. That was a big thing for me, to just try to do my normal things as I've done previous summers, and then whenever the contract gets done, I'm ready to go.
I'm sure you like you said, you try to keep the normalcy to your routine and everything, but like after you sign a long-term deal, do you think about anything differently, or like I can be more comfortable in setting the roots down here? Like, what changes mentally for you after you sign that deal?
I mean, obviously it's a big thing. Like you know for the next 8 years where you're gonna be, and that's something that I felt very comfortable from the start. And you know, obviously you want to build something good here. You know, you want to win. I want to win here, and I think we got a lot of really good tools to do that as well. So I guess, you know, priority may change a little bit. Then it's obviously nice for family, stuff like that. They know where you are for the upcoming 8 years. It's easier to plan and stuff like that. So it may be a little bit, but I'd say in general it stays pretty much the same. Like, you go in with the same mentality every year, and you know, just try to win as many games as possible and build something good.
I know that you're mostly like American country music, right? That's your weapon of choice. I do have to ask, because we are doing this ahead of Grateful Dead night tomorrow, and I'm so excited about that. I know a lot of fans are excited about it, but I understand that the players on the team are younger than 100 years old, so they might not care about it. Do you have any experience with the Grateful Dead? Do you know about them? Do you care about them? Does anybody on the team?
I have no idea, if I'm honest. Maybe some guys on the team do. I don't know. But I have no clue.
The coolest thing about that is you just end that with yet. Yeah. Because it's something about just being, I hate to fall into like gender norms, but just like becoming an old guy, you will become a Grateful Dead fan. Europe 72, check it out. Yeah. It's awesome though. Like, do you see any of like the imagery or anything, like the clothes and shit?
No, I haven't seen it.
It's gonna be sick. Yeah. I think you'll like it a lot.
Check back in on with us about Everybody Loves Raymond.
Yeah,
dude, so there's an episode where he has to coach. There's an episode where he has to coach his kids' youth basketball team, and it's a good team, except a little twist: 2 players on the team suck. His kids. It's a real tough dilemma that he's in as a parent. Yeah. His wife won't have sex with him after that. It's such a good show.
I might have to check it out. Yeah.
All right, we'll send it to you. Thanks, man.
No, thanks for having me.
Lucas, what a guy. I think that if you physically did bring Everybody Loves Raymond to him and like there's a play button, he would press play. I don't think that he's avoiding it in a fuck that kind of way. He is such a deeply, I know that people don't love being described this way. It can make them feel, it depends from person to person. He's a deeply chill guy.
Oh, super chill.
He's a very chill guy. So if you're like, hey, we're watching Everybody Loves Raymond, want to come with the way that we talk to each other, I think he'd be like, I'll check that out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure. I don't think that he is like defiantly saying, stop on broadcasts saying everybody loves Raymond. Two strange men. Stop talking to me about everybody loves Raymond. I think he smiled. He smiled for Ficas. He smiled for everybody loves Raymond. He smiled for everything. He's a nice, smiley guy. But I don't think that he's been avoiding everybody loves Raymond. It just hasn't been put in his face yet.
I do have to say, big loser of that interview is Dylan Larkin, who
he takes a lot of L's when we talk to people. Zach Werenski did the same thing. We were like, although I did say, I think, or one of us said, what's your best Dylan Larkin story? So it's not like he caught a stray there. We were like,
tell us a bad thing about this guy.
Dylan Larkin. In this case, we were like, tell us about Fika-ing. He said, sure.
Dylan Larkin's
Let me tell you about this dumbass captain of mine.
So, tough look for Dylan Larkin. But as a lover of the boys, that's a great story about the boys and dudes rocking.
They do have a little crew there, I think.
Yeah.
Him, Larkin, definitely Sider.
Mm-hmm.
They go to Detroit Lions practices together. Sider talks to Amon-Ra St. Brown in German and leaves Lucas Raymond out of it. DeBrincat, I know, is in that group. Mm-hmm. They go to the movies together. It's a whole thing. So thank you to Lucas Raymond. Yes, Sean?
I was going to say, this is back-to-back guests now that we have had who, after we talked to them, have been named to a Four Nations roster.
That's right. Yes. So that if you're wondering why no mention of his being selected to the Four Nations face-off, it's not just because we're Team Finland guys.
Yes.
We don't care about.
Didn't want to make the interview too emotional.
Congratulations. We don't really. We're here to tell you, we don't care. We care that he's on Team Sweden, and we like Team Sweden. I always thought that Sweden would be like my second favorite team, but then Pete brought up the chaotic aspect of Finland, and now
those are our guys.
We're riding for them.
That's right.
Let's ride for a Slate grade. How about that, Sean? Because it's a busy one this evening. Oh, boy. Starting with 7 p.m. Eastern, U.S. and Canada, the Maple Leafs at the Devils. That's a good one. That's a Wayne Simmons Bowl, folks.
Oh, yeah, it is.
That's a Wayne Simmons Bowl. It's a Joe Nieuwendyk Bowl.
It's a Sheldon Keefe Bowl.
Oh, wow. That's a great bowl. Well, while we're talking about coaches, how about this?
Well, real quick, I would say not only is it a bowl, this is a revenge game.
Oh, yes.
Definitely.
It's a Joel Quenneville Bowl, which is interesting. Played for both of those teams. At 7 p.m., the Avalanche at the Penguins. The getting better Avalanche against the having gotten better Penguins. I'm still not touching that game.
Take the over.
About it, watching it, taking the over probably, yeah. Mm-hmm. It's a Ron Tugnut Bowl. It's a Jerome McGinley Bowl. That's an interesting one.
Evan Rodriguez Bowl.
It's a Matt Hunwick Bowl. At 7 p.m., you got the Sharks at the Hurricanes. Easy one.
Brent
Burns Bowl. Yeah. It's the only one I wrote down for that. Flyers at Blue Jackets, 7 p.m. Eastern. Another easy one.
Voracek Bowl.
Oh, okay. That's a Jakub Voracek Bowl. Mm-hmm. I was going to say the easy one there is Sergei Bobrovsky and Ivan Provorov.
James Van Riemsdyk Bowl.
Oh, yeah. Very good one. I was like, James Van Riemsdyk played for the Blue Jackets?
Sergei Bobrovsky Bowl.
That's what I said.
Okay.
Yeah, Provorov Bowl. Bob and Provorov were the two obvious ones I wrote down. 7:30 p.m.
Cam Atkinson Bowl.
John Tortorella
Bowl.
Oh, that's a good one.
There's a lot of crossover there.
Yep. Yeah. 7:30 Kings at Islanders. Kings have won 5 in a row, as we discussed with Petey. I only wrote down one for that. It's a Zygmunt Palffy Bowl.
Wow. Okay.
How about you remember getting Ziggy with it?
Mm-hmm. I do.
8 p.m. Flames at the Predators. A James Neal Bowl.
Oh, yes.
Guy put the Predator in Predators. I feel like when you say Predator now, people assume.
I was going to say, I don't
know.
I
was going to say,
people assume a specific type of Predator.
Did I miss a
That's
James
not
Neal
what
lore?
Predator means in the case of Nashville.
It is what it means in the.
Like predatory players, which is what James Neal was.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I feel like in the context of Nashville, they mean predatory animals.
Ain't a damn thing changed.
Fair enough.
That guy did not care where your head was. That elbow or that knee was coming out. A Tyson Berry Bowl.
Yep.
Not a bad one. At 8 p.m., you got a good one. The Bruins at the Jets. Bruins trying to prove that they are not fraud-ass pumpkins. And what better team to do it against than the most fraud-ass pumpkin watch team in the league right now. The Bruins have won 4 in a row. Jets skidding a bit. It's a Blake Wheeler Bowl.
That's right.
It's a Mark Stewart Bowl, same trade. And how about a Derek Forbort Bowl?
Oh, wow. Okay, yeah.
9 p.m. Decent structure here tonight. 9 p.m. Lightning at Oilers. Headlined by, you might want to say a Nikolai Khabibulin Bowl. I'm going to say it's a Louis DeBrusque Bowl.
Oh, wow. Okay.
A Bob Beers Bowl while we're talking about broadcasters. He played for both teams briefly.
Corey Perry, of course.
Corey Perry Bowl. Yep. A Mike Smith Bowl. Of course.
Wow.
Want to stay in net? How about a Nikolai Khabibulin Bowl?
Love that.
Just doubling down.
Did I say, yeah, I said that off the top,
First
right? Yeah,
one,
sorry,
yeah.
I'm reading my list. A Bill Ranford Bowl, fine, if we want to stay in net. And a Dwayne Rawlson Bowl.
Yeah.
9:30 p.m. Eastern. Wild at Hockey Club. This one's interesting
Nick
because
Bukestad.
famously, there's only 2.
Nick Bukestad and Jack McBain never played for the. I know he got traded from the Wild.
So Nick Bukestad is one. Who is the other one? You'll kick yourself. This is one where you just kind of got to assume he's played for a lot of these teams.
Oh, it's not a Kerfoot Bowl, is it?
No.
I don't know.
It's an Ian Cole Bowl.
Oh, okay, yeah.
An Ian Cole Bowl.
My
10
least
p.m.
favorite kind of bowl.
Yep. 10 p.m. Blues at Canucks. How about an Ian Cole Bowl?
Oh, my God.
How about an
that.
Ian Cole
Please
Bowl?
tell me Ian Cole played for the Panthers and Kraken.
A Ryan Miller
not.
Bowl.
I know.
A Maxime Lapierre Bowl. Second day in a row.
Ugh.
Got a little Max Lapierre. And at 10 p.m. to take us home, the Panthers at the Kraken. Kraken have won 3 of 4. Watch out for them. A Brandon Montour Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty nice one.
That's a good slate.
That's a good slate. We didn't, I don't think we firmly applied the grade to yesterday's slate, but even though this is being taped without us knowing how that ended up, we spoke very derogatorily about that bowl. That was an A-.
Yes.
The only thing about last night's thing is that somebody's life is worse today than yesterday because the Red Wings and the Sabres are playing. And they both suck. So either
A lot of how do you lose that game bowl?
Detroit's head coach or Buffalo's GM is in a much worse position today than they were yesterday.
I'll tell you what, I don't think the Buffalo's GM is in a bad position. We've
He's
learned
panicking.
nothing.
Yeah,
Very
he is
calm.
not panicking, and he is probably not losing his job, but he is the heat from the public is going to ramp up.
This has some good games. Panthers at Kraken is pretty good. Wild at Hockey Club is good. Lightning at Oilers is good. Bruins at Jets is good. Maple Leafs at Devils is good. Avalanche at Penguins. If you want a little chaos, you can get it there. There's no shining game, though.
Did you say Flyers at Blue Jackets? Because for some reason, that's very interesting to me.
I was going to dub that as a must-win game for our guys in Columbus. They have fallen off a bit.
Mm-hmm.
They are back at the bottom of the Metropolitan Division, at least by points. And they got to get back on the horse, and they got to start getting some points against winnable games. And you've got one here in the Philadelphia Flyers.
They're still, what, are they 500 right now?
12-12-3.
Yeah, so they're still 500. So they're still in this thing. You got to get your points against the Philadelphia Flyers. You got to get your points.
I feel like this entire season is just a expanded version of what we went through the last season, where you're going to say that the Blue Jackets need to win a game or else they're at risk of falling out of this. But it's just like the teams they're behind are the Pittsburgh Penguins, Philadelphia Flyers, and New York Islanders.
That's right.
I mean,
Do you think that
do they really need to win games? Because everyone's losing.
2 questions. Sean's not on camera for that part, but I was going to ask, do you think that the listeners can hear this when Sean does it?
I feel like
because Sean does this, every pause of Sean is accompanied with, which is
Just
like,
saying.
I'll say like a quarter Kanye shrug.
It's the guy,
much more of the
guy from
Drewski.
Jordan.
It's much.
Oh,
no,
yes,
it's
he
not
is.
that either.
Yes.
It's much more of a Drewski.
It's
like,
more of a,
I'm just saying.
yes, it's,
Don't shoot the messenger.
yeah. Don't know what you expected.
I'm just relaying the facts.
Okay. Yeah. I don't know if people, I mean, I don't need to be watching you to know when you're talking when there's like a little bit of that one.
If there's a pause where it could be replaced with a just saying, I'm probably doing the hands up shrug thing. But seriously, do they really need to win games? Because every single team that's not currently in a wild card spot kind of sucks.
I'm not ready to say the Blue Jackets suck. I think the Blue Jackets are a good team.
Well, that's my point. That's my point. Is that
Oh, your point is like they're going to be fine?
You could argue that they are the best of the teams that are not currently in a playoff spot on points. I'm not looking at point percentage.
Pete,
but just saying.
Why don't you tell them what to do?
Hit that like button. Thumbs up button right below the video player. Very much appreciate it. Also subscribe on the YouTube channel. And if you're listening on audio, maybe give us 5 stars and leave a review, whether it's Spotify, Apple Music. We will take it and appreciate any of it as long as it's 5 stars.
I have a goal. I want to get to 9,900 subscribers by the end of the week. I think that is doable, but people need to get in gear. And quite frankly, we need to inspire them to do so. So hopefully we do things that you like. We've got a lot of fun stuff coming, including our return to live episodes tomorrow, Wednesday, December 11th, joined in studio by
I forgot about this.
Breaker of the Jacob Trouba trade, Johnny Lazarus. What Chaos Insider will literally be inside.
Yes. And I believe, I want to say, first ever live guest in studio.
Oh, live guest in studio. We've had like replacement hosts in studio.
And
but
we've had
first,
recorded guests. But
us in studio with the guest live. He asked, will you have a dog host for me? I had a text message with him, a text message exchange with him Sunday night. And he was kind of being a little jokey and cutesy. I was in the middle of doing a bunch of stuff. So I was just giving him the Matvey Michkov hello response. And he was like, are you going to have a dog host for me? And I said, not since you started breaking trades.
Yeah, I was going to say,
you're not the dog house.
Even if we did, we wouldn't put you in it.
No, you're out of it. We start you off in this guy knows nothing. Start you off in the doghouse. Oh, and you get your way out of it.
I will say, maybe the first time in show history, I'm not the dumbest motherfucker on the podcast.
I've had a couple moments recently where I've been like, I don't want Pete to feel too dumb. I feel pretty dumb at points.
I am just interested to see Johnny Lazarus versus the Whatnuts in the live chat.
Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, I'm seeing right now, what's the guy's name? Performing at the Candlelight Theater in I Think You Should Leave.
Oh, yeah.
He's getting out of his car. Showtime. We're going to go nuts in there. They are champing at the bit. They are excited.
But, like, those are his people because he's often in there.
Yeah, but that's when he's with
They're not
the
nice
people.
to him. I don't know if you
that's what I'm saying. That's also when he's just focused on the chat. Him trying to do a show while also fighting with the chat. Gotta see what kind of skill he has, I guess.
So really what we should have put in the Today on the Show instead of Slate Grade, although we did famously come through on that Slate Grade promise, we should have put Laz in studio preview.
Yes.
We don't have, we're just kind of living second to second here because we're running around doing stuff with other places, doing a cool thing. Today, Tuesday, with a team, can't say what, but if we had more time, then maybe we could have done like a full breakdown of our plan for Lazarus, because right now I have no plan for Lazarus, which I don't think we need to.
I was going to say, if there was a guest to not have a plan for, I think it might be Johnny.
Yeah, just let him go. Let him kind of, we could do, I have an idea. I won't say it on here because Lazarus might be listening. We will talk about it, and we will talk to you tomorrow, Wednesday, December 11th with Laz in studio. We love you. Bye.